The Cambridge Tech Podcast is supported by Rathbones, a leading provider of individual wealth management services to private clients, entrepreneurs, charities and professional partners. For more information, please visit rathbones.com. The value of your investments and the income from them may go down as well as up, and you could get back less than you invested.
Welcome to the Cambridge Tech Podcast, talking all things technology from the heart of the UK's tech capital. Here are your hosts, Faye Holland and James Parton.
Hi, I'm James.
And I'm Faye. So you've just got me for the first part today, so we're going to head straight into two big news items of the week. I'm sure many of you will have seen the press that Raspberry Pi is floating on the main market at the London Stock Exchange, with a value of the IPO estimated to be around £500 million. Raspberry Pi is a leading designer and developer of high-performance, low-cost single-board computer and compute modules for industrial IoT customers and embedded uses, as well as for millions of enthusiasts and educators. You may remember from episode 10 when we talked to Eben Upton that the uses of Raspberry Pi really are limited, which is not surprising considering since it began trading in 2012, it's sold over 60 million SBCs and compute modules, of which 7.4 million were sold in 2023 alone. Second, IQGeo, the listed geospatial software solutions firm, is set to be acquired by KKR in a private equity deal valued at £333 million. Its share price has increased more than 2.7x in the last 2 years, and the deal is 7x IQGeo's revenue of £44.5 million in financial year 2023. Should the deal go through, KKR plans to support IQGeo's international expansion efforts and accelerate its inorganic growth strategy should the opportunity arise for strategic acquisitions. So they're the two big pieces. There is other news as well. Nikkei Asia this week reported that Cambridge superchip architect Arm is setting up an AI chip division to develop an artificial intelligence chip with a prototype planned by spring 2025. Nikkei Asia reports that SoftBank, which retains more than 90% of ARM shares following last year's NASDAQ IPO, could invest as much as $64 billion in data center infrastructure and robotics to support the deal, although ARM would carry initial development costs, which could run into many millions of dollars. More locally, Cambridge funder Martlet Capital is under new management. EMV Capital, a VC investor specialising in high-growth deep tech and life sciences companies, has acquired Martlet Capital's operational business. EMV Capital will manage, on a discretionary basis, Martlet Capital's around £23.3 million portfolio of investments across 53 companies within the deep tech and life science sectors. Following last week's podcast on Cambridge Wide Open Day, there's been a huge amount of promotion for the day across Cambridge, so do keep following the activities on social media and make sure that you sign up for the event on the 12th of June. And finally, for the news, TechNation held their regional pitch event this week, supported by Cambridge Tech Week and hosted at the Bradfield Centre. The regional winner was Lambda Agri, presented by founder Monica Saavedra. Monica will be off to the London finals held during London Tech Week, and Chris Bruce of Cam Tech Week will be there to fly the Cambridge flag, as will our very own James Parton. So good luck, Monica, with that. And now to today's episode, which is covering the Cambridge Independent Science and Technology Awards, which were held this last Thursday, the 16th of May, at Hinxton Hall Conference Centre on the Wellcome Genome campus. James and I recorded the interview with Paul Brackley in advance, and then at the end, we've just added on the winners from the night. So here we go. Hi, Paul. Welcome to Cambridge Tech Podcast. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here with the indomitable Faye Holland.
And James Parton.
I haven't got an epithet for James yet, I'm afraid, but I'll come up with one.
I could make up a few.
Well, yeah, I'm fine being in your shadow. I'm happy living in your shadow. That's fine.
Oh, James. Right, let's swiftly move on. Paul, tell us about the SciTech Awards.
Yes, with pleasure. Well, We launched the Science and Technology Awards in 2017, and that was shortly after we launched the Cambridge Independent. We wanted to come up with an awards that represented something that was great about Cambridge, and we looked around at what else was out there. And while there were lots of good awards ceremonies, there wasn't something dedicated to science and technology. So we felt there was a real gap for that. So we launched them in 2017, and the response we got was even better than we expected. We held the first one at Venture Fest East, after a business showcase, you may recall, at Newmarket Racecourse. So we're kind of piggybacking on another event to see how it went. And the response was so good, we carried it on. And it's grown every year since. We've had it each year with a virtual one during COVID. And it's grown every time with nominations to the categories growing each year. And I even get people asking me to buy tickets for next year's event before we've even held this one, which is amazing. So yeah, it's been a really good journey, and I think, hopefully the companies that have been involved and that have won awards have really valued them. So it's been very good.
And I remember that first one upstairs in the racecourse, wasn't it? Yeah. And even the format you did the awards in was quite different. So I think that immediately made people sit up and pay attention to it, which is great. Yeah,
I think that the format was important to get right, because I think one of the reasons we felt that this would be interesting would be to get everyone together. The kind of networking element of these awards is really valuable. And so we didn't want to do a sit-down meal. There's a place for those kind of award ceremonies where you put your black tie on and you have a 3-course dinner and all of that. That's, those events are great, but we wanted something different. So we did like a networking reception with sort of drinks and canapes, and then the awards ceremony, and then there's post-event networking. And it's a great occasion for people to sort of catch up and mix with other sectors that, may not always meet. So because we have so many different varieties of technology and science represented here, and it's actually quite rare to get all of them in one room. You might have a biotech conference, but to have clean tech and AI and biotech, medtech, all these kind of different innovative technologies together in one place is remarkable. And I also sort of the IQ in the room in that place is absolutely crazy. So yeah, it's
I mean, that was a good segue, actually, because I was going to comment just on, how reflective I think the number of different categories you have is of the diversity of tech and life sciences around Cambridge. There's a lot there, isn't there? I mean, how do you come up with the categories? How have those categories grown over time? And, how do you pick where one company goes in terms of if they span different, boundaries?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. We have evolved the categories. I think when we started in 2017, we had about, I think it was 5. We've now got 16. So we've grown it. But even in the beginning, we had artificial intelligence, biotech, clean tech. We had a fintech category and a medtech. And, most of those are carried on, but we've added other areas as well. Some that are more general, so that you can, all kinds of technology can apply. So obviously the Technology Company of the Year is quite a general category, but we also have the Award for Innovation. We have an Employer of the Year category now, which I think reflects the fact that a lot of tech companies are, very keen to show why they're good employers. Why should you come and work for us? And winning that award is a real badge of honour for them to show what they're doing for their employers. We also have 2 categories for individuals, which are the Researcher of the Year category, sponsored by AstraZeneca, who help us judge that one. And that's for both academic and commercial researchers. And then we have CEO of the Year, which we allow others to nominate. People can nominate themselves, or they can nominate their CEO, or likewise the researcher category can be self or someone else nominating. And I think that really gives it great variety to the awards ceremony. As for how we decide where they go, well, this is both a good idea and a bad idea, but we allow people to enter more than one category. Right. That's a good idea because of the point you made about people span different types of technology. So, there'll be people that are a biotech, work in a biotech company, but also in AI. The bad news about that is it gives us a real headache when it comes to judging, because, it's like a big jigsaw puzzle. But we do that to make sure we get the best companies represented in the categories that we feel are right. So, they might apply to more than one category. We can perhaps shortlist them in whatever we think they're strongest in. So it does give us a judging challenge, but it's always a good one, I have to say.
And that's why you, let's say, outsource the judging. So who was in charge, or who was responsible for picking the winners this year?
Well, it's not entirely outsourced because I chair the judging panel, but I bring in lots of expertise because, I clearly need it to help us. So we get quite a few different people involved in both the shortlisting element and in the final judging. We try to make sure there's expertise across the different fields that are involved in these awards. So we had Mark Watson from here at the Bradfield Centre this year. We had Stephanie Martlew from St John's Innovation Centre. We had Nathan Taylor-Alkins from Woodfines, which sponsors a clean tech category. My colleague Mike Shalom, business correspondent on the Cambridge Independent, was there. Jane Hutchins, director of the Science Park. She helped us judge the STEM Initiative of the Year category. We had David Broach from Alia Future Business Centre. They sponsor the Tech for Good Award, and obviously they're involved in a lot of impact businesses, so understand Tech for Good really well. Amrit Jethwa, who's head of commercial IP contracts for Appleyard Lees. So they've got lots of biotech and AI experience. And then, of course, your good self, Faye, helped us with some of the shortlisting on the One to Watch award, which is great because that obviously ties into the 21 to Watch that you organise. So, yeah, it's a good panel. I think we change it every year, but it brings varied expertise, and it takes several days to do all that judging.
I saw firsthand how much work Mark put into it. So yeah, there's a lot of work there.
It is.
They take it seriously.
But it's good fun, I have to say. There's always a good vibe in the room because we're learning about these companies. I mean, we often know them. Mike and I are writing about them all year round, so we have good insight into them. But we ask them for quite detailed submissions. They can send us up to 1,000 words, which is quite a lot. But we want them to, to really give us the detail to understand their business, to help us with the process.
So before we talk about some of this year's finalists, how about we look at some of the previous winners? Like you say, it's been going since 2017. There's probably got to be some good companies on there that we'll all recognise.
Well, I think the interesting thing is looking back at the track record of the companies that, the judging panel has picked. Some of those that we picked in the early days, perhaps in sort of start-up categories or scale-up categories, have gone on to really great things. And I think that's a good sign that we're picking some of the great winners. So, I mean, just to look back at the 2017 winners, a couple of the examples there, we had Storm Therapeutics was a startup winner in our 2017 awards, and it went on last year to be highly commended in the biotech category. That was after it had, I think, a £30 million or $30 million Series B round, and it dosed its first patient with an anti-cancer drug candidate. So from those early days when, of course, a lot of biotechs never quite get off the ground and struggle to get to that clinical stage, they really come through and make good progress. So that was one. And then we had the same year, we had a little company called Cambridge Medical Robotics. You might know of them, scale-up winner. We knew it was going to scale then, but I don't think we could have envisaged quite how much. And of course, nowadays they're called CMR Surgical. They're selling their Versius surgical robots all around the world, and they're a unicorn, of course. So, I mean, from 2017 to 2024, that's a remarkable journey. And they're nominated in this year's MedTech category, so it's great to have them back involved in the awards. And we've had a few that have had name changes like that. We had Elpis Biomed. You may recall that name from 2018. They were a startup winner in its early days then. But I think from the very first time I interviewed Mark Cotter, I think I could tell he had something special on his hands. And, obviously a very brilliant guy. And it went on, of course, to be renamed Bit.bio. And it's now one of Cambridge's most successful biotech companies.
And they're back on the list quite heavily again this year, aren't they?
They are. They've won before. They've won Biotech Company of the Year, Employer of the Year. Mark Cotter's won CEO of the Year, and it's back on the list for some nominations again this time, including for one of their researchers, which is great to see as well. So that's them. But we also have some early stage awards. I mentioned the One to Watch one, and we had Callium Diagnostics as our first winner. You may recall, Faye, now Callium Health. I think you've had Tom on the podcast before talking about the progress they've made, monitoring blood potassium levels for kidney patients and so on. And they've obviously grown since then and are now making really good progress. So it's great to see these companies that we knew had something special back then go on and achieve it.
Yeah.
Can I just come in on what you just said there? Really intrigued me. You know, when you first met Mark, you kind of knew there was something there. Have you developed a nose for this over the years? You know, all of these founders you're meeting and interviewing all the time. Would you make a good investor?
You'd have to ask my wife that. I'm not sure. Well, I think with Mark, it was evident because, I mean, such a brilliant scientist, and you could tell that the science that he was coming up with was really groundbreaking stuff. These things don't always get traction, of course. You sometimes can have something brilliant, but for commercial reasons it doesn't take off. But we looked at the sort of backing, the support he had around him, and it looked very promising, and I think you could tell that one was going to be a winner. Although, you know, you can't always predict the level of success. I mean, that's gone on to great things in a very short space of time. Yeah. But yeah, I think you get a bit of a nose for it once you've been reporting and talking to these companies for many years, and you get to know the individuals and you sort of start to understand the way they think and the support network around them. So that feeds into some of the judging as well. Myself and Mike obviously bring the knowledge that we gain from the course of the year to the panel. So, but I think the panel around us bring a lot of the technical expertise as well. So that helps make sure that we're picking the right companies, hopefully.
Excellent. So why don't we then move on and talk about this year's finalists and categories? As you mentioned, 16 categories. So we won't go through everything. No. We're going to highlight the more tech-related ones, which obviously is what we're all about here on the podcast. So why don't we start with the award for Best Technology Company? Yeah,
I think this year's category for technology companies is fascinating. I mean, it always is, but I think this year it was a real competition. And I have to say that the judging for this category was very, very challenging. And that's a good sign. That's a good sign. We want it to be tough. So we've got Pragmatic Semiconductor, which, as you know, makes flexible integrated circuits. And they got £182 million of investment in December. And I believe 162 million of that was a Series D round that made it the largest ever semiconductor venture funding round in Europe. And one of the things we always look for is progress in the last year, because these are annual awards. So they've obviously had a brilliant year. Then we had Cambridge Mechatronics, which secured a $40 million round in February to expand its SMA technology from smartphone imaging to other fields like healthcare, interactive entertainment, that kind of thing. New Quantum, also on the shortlist. They're pioneering scalable quantum networking. We've got Cellular Origins, which is building a scalable cell therapy automation manufacturing solution. So they're bringing advanced robotics to cell therapy for the first time. And then we've got Plex Tech, which has expertise in antenna design and high-frequency electronics, digital signal processing. And they're also nominated actually in our Award for Innovation category, and that's for a project about space debris, so something quite different. And then finally in this category we've got Second Mind, which has created an optimization engine that allows automotive engineers to design better cars, design them faster and speed up the move to carbon neutrality. So we've got, 6 really interesting companies in quite different fields competing with one another there, and this one I have to say gave the judges a bit of a headache.
Yeah, it's really strong, that one. I'm quite amazed it's New Quantum's first time at the SciTech Awards. I'm quite amazed it's the first time they've appeared, but they're obviously coming in strong. And Pragmatic won this category last year, didn't they?
They have, yeah.
Does that are you going to give us any teasers? No? Okay, I'm moving on, because otherwise you'll tell me
I can't do that. What I always say, I mean, this is going to be a shameless plug, but having won Weekly Newspaper of the Year 5 years running.
Congratulations again.
Thank you very much. And we have just won News Brand of the Year in the Regional Press Awards this year. But the reason I mention that, apart from the obvious, is that I always say to the judges, don't penalise someone for winning before if they've done something great in the last year. Yes, we have to weigh up all the new companies that are coming in and balance them against those. But if somebody has achieved something fantastic in the last year, these are annual awards, they have a chance to win it. So, absolutely. So they're not excluded on that basis. We don't think that would be fair.
I think that's absolutely accurate.
If you are a startup looking to grow in Cambridge, the Bradfield Centre offers a range of flexible membership packages which put you in control of your office and home working mix. There's a vibrant, collaborative atmosphere, on-site cafe, plenty of green outside space, and regular member social events. We also offer a range of high-quality meeting spaces for hire, and for tech event organisers, our auditorium, lakeside pavilion, and atrium spaces are perfect to bring your communities together for in-person and hybrid events. For more information, visit bradfieldcentre.com or call 01223 919 600.
So that's the first award. So let's just whiz through a few of them just to get, give listeners a view of some of the other companies that have been included. So the award for innovation, this is the one that Porotech won last year. Yeah. Who's up for that award?
So we've got Anfista Therapeutics, Paragraph, FlexEnable. I mentioned Plex Tech with their space debris, Cellular Origins, and Bit.bio, who we also, of course, have mentioned already, and they're in for some specific progress that they've made on some of their cell coding technology.
And then we've got Tech for Good. So what's the rundown in that category?
In that one, we've got SuperSense Technologies, we've got Ethiochronics, we've got Vuala, Orcascan, CogTrain, which is from Wellcome Connecting Science and the Sanger Institute with Cog UK, and then we've got Electron RX. So all of those, the Tech for Good category is obviously about positive impact, and so it sometimes attracts organisations or initiatives and projects as well as companies. So CogTrain being an example of that this year.
And Electron RX is an interesting one because they won the One to Watch category in 2022, and then they kind of went quiet for a little bit. So it's great to see them back in a couple of categories this year as well.
That sometimes happens where companies have you get the initial progress and the launch and the announcement, and then they go quiet a little bit and you think, what are they doing? And it's because they're working towards, say, a product launch or progress and that kind of thing. And I think sometimes these things, as we know, take time to get off the ground, and they go through iterations, and then maybe when they're ready they nominate again. They go in and enter the awards. It may be that they take a year out while they're building their products or building out their team, for example. So I think possibly with Electron RX in that sort of category.
Okay, so let's move on to the One to Watch award then, please.
Yes, so this is always interesting because we're judging companies at their earliest stages. So, you're talking about having a nose. I think this is where, that comes in, because lots of people have great ideas, but they don't always translate them, or they can't always convert them. And, sometimes you need a bit of luck. We know that as well. But also there's a lot of it is as I say, the support network around them, and, the sort of way that they can start to sort of grow their business based on their ideas. So,
and how early are these companies typically? Just for anyone listening that might be thinking about entering, are they pre-revenue, kind of fundraising, or are they started to raise money?
Some of them have sort of seed funding, that kind of thing, but we're not really at the. We think of this as before the startup category, if you like. So these are the early stage kind of, maybe the seed funded companies. We've got Bug Biome this year, which is developing eco-friendly biorepellents using microbiology and synthetic biology. We've got Forefront RF, who are a little bit further down the track. They've got a tunable duplexer, which, if you know your mobile phone technology, it helps reduce the component count in smartphones and smartwatches, other mobile devices. We've got Vector Bioscience Cambridge, which has created a machine learning empowered drug delivery platform. We've got Clock Bio, which is a fascinating company, effectively a kind of Bit.bio spin-out, aiming to increase human health span by developing treatments to prevent and treat age-related diseases. SuperSense Technologies, they've got a remote monitoring device, provides carers with insight on health and well-being of loved ones in their own home. And then we've got Cambridge Nucleomics, which you'll know, James, from, I think, the Trinity Bradfield Prize. Yeah. University of Cambridge spin-out, which is looking to quantify short and long RNAs. So again, quite a bit of variety there in terms of different technologies. But I think what brings them together is that they're companies we feel could make a really big impact in the coming years, and that's what this category is designed to represent.
Okay, so our next category then, Clean Tech Company of the Year. There's a fair few different companies on there again. Although I see Voila's back on that one. Did they win? They were highly commended last year, weren't they?
Yeah, Voila we have recognised before. We gave them... Let me just check.
Tech for Good.
They were highly commended in clean tech. And yeah, we've had them... They are a company that sort of crosses between clean tech and tech for good because, there's often quite a crossover between those two for obvious reasons.
And James, you know them well as well, don't you?
Yeah, another Trinity Bradfield Prize alum. And we ran their first commercial trial here in the Bradfield, which is really great to see. So, yeah. Indeed.
So they're on there along with, we've got Alchemy Technology, which have that sort of dye process technology. We've got Polysolar, Advanced Infrastructure Technology, and HereWorks, which is another Bradfield Centre company, of course.
And then we've got Software Company of the Year, which is a new category.
It is. So sponsored by Mantle Space, and we wanted to introduce this one because I think it was a gap, I guess, in our armoury. So we felt that was a really good category to add. So many great software companies around Cambridge. We've got GearSet. Advanced Infrastructure Technology are also in this one, along with HereWorks. We've got Optibrium, OrcaScan, IQGeo, and Sanogenetics. So software that covers quite a few different areas, I suppose. It's interesting to see how they compete with one another. We're judging those against one another. Wasn't easy either, but we've got some that are quite well established business and one or two others that are fairly early stages still, but have some really promising technology.
I think it's nice that there is a software category now because, Cambridge, I think naturally people think about life sciences and, everything that's happening in those crossover areas like bio and, and medtech. But there's so many software businesses in Cambridge. Obviously, we see that on a day-to-day basis here, but it's great to give them a spotlight, I think.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think it's been well received considering it's the first year we've run this category. We had lots of entries, which is encouraging signs. So that's going to continue in the coming years.
And then you're not chasing the latest fad. You've had AI Company of the Year since year one, so you've got a nice track record here. Who's in the AI category this year?
Yeah, so artificial intelligence, I think, was something that we, immediately thought was going to be critical for Cambridge. Cambridge is going to be at the heart of developing it. So we started that right back in 2017. This year we've got Second Mind, Enhanced 3D Genomics, Cardiotech Biosciences, Lucida Medical, and C2AI. And C2AI we've recognised before, but there's some new companies on there as well, having their first tilt at these awards. So great to see them.
So a great list, and we've kind of covered half of the list, if that, haven't we? So, hats off to you for really putting together a robust list of finalists again for this year's awards.
Yeah, it is a great list, and I think that's testament to what's so much good work that's going on around the Cambridge region. And I hope that bringing them together can help not only with some introductions, but also broaden people's knowledge about all the amazing work that goes on in some of these buildings that they see around Cambridge, and hopefully they'll learn more about them. And who knows, there could be job opportunities for them at some of these companies.
So we've name-checked lots of companies in a very short space of time. So we'll make sure that we link to the awards pages so people can follow up and find out more information. And obviously we'll include it in our show notes and our social posts as well. So stay tuned for more information on the winners.
Thanks, James. So now the awards have been announced, here are the winners in the categories we spoke to Paul about. And I was really pleased to see that many of them that we've already spoken to on this podcast were represented as highly commended and winners too. So here's the roll call. Technology Company of the Year, highly commended was Pragmatic Semiconductor, who were our very first interview on the podcast at episode 2. And the winner was Cambridge Mechatronics, who we're speaking to in the next couple of weeks already. So that's really exciting. And the award for innovation, highly commended, was Cellular Origins, and the winner was Plex Tech. In the Tech for Good category, highly commended was CogTrain, which was made by the Wellcome Connecting Science and Wellcome Sanger Institute. And the winner, we were thrilled to see Orcascan and the team go and take the award for Tech for Good. Again, you may remember we spoke to John Doherty in episode 20. In the One to Watch award, highly commended was Bit.bio. They were a 21 to Watch winner earlier this year, featured on episode 78. And the winner was Forefront RF, another company that we've covered a fair few times in the news over the recent months. They were also a 21 to Watch winner in 2022. And both of those winning companies are Cambridge Angels investment portfolio companies. In the Clean Tech Company of the Year category, highly commended was Advanced Infrastructure Technology, and the winner was Alchemy Technology. In Software Company of the Year, we had highly commended was Sanogenetics. It was great to see that for Patrick Short and the team. Again, we spoke to Patrick in episode 28, and the winner was Optibrium. And finally, the other one we covered was AI Company of the Year. Highly commended was Gary Brotman and the team at Second Mind. So well done to them. We spoke again to Gary on episode 50 about his journey, the journey of Second Mind and him coming into Cambridge from the US. And the winner was Lucida Medical Limited. So I don't expect you to have written all of those down. They are all in the comments and on the show notes. So well done, everyone. Even just with these categories, you can see that real mix of science and technology companies. So again, just, look online for more information, Cambridge Independent website and social media channels, and it will be in print in the Cambridge Independent this coming Wednesday for anyone that's local. So that's the end of today's episode. We'll see you next week when we'll be talking to Better Origin startup co-founder Mihar Pipan, and we'll be talking to him about fixing the broken food chain by converting waste into high-value insect products. See you next week.
Today's show was produced by Carl Homer of Cambridge TV and supported by our media partner, Business Weekly. The Cambridge Tech Podcast is available on all major podcast platforms and on cambridgetechpodcast.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please give it a 5-star review. It will really help others discover the show.
The rules of business and society have changed, and Mishcon de Reya stands at the forefront of this change, championing the innovation ecosystem at the heart of Cambridge. Our expertise is advising innovative companies at all stages of their life cycle. Discover what you can do at mishcon.com.